the majority of this cost to serve created by 15% of your customers that are being attracted by misplaced PPC, SEO, and digital marketing, email marketing. That's not all the people are there, because I couldn't say that would be untrue, but a disproportionate number of campaigns are dragging people into this zone, and they're attracting customers, which on the face of it, they come in, they buy the first product, and you make money on them because it only costs you £2.50 on Google to acquire them, i.e. they spent £2.75, it cost me £2.50, but unfortunately, it'll cost me 3 times as much to serve them because they'll return more products, they will fail to pay their bills. Even if you take the money on credit card, they'll send it back and demand a refund, and then they'll blackmail you on social media because you don't do it. What you end up with is you end up with people at this end that will be permanently creating grief for you, and you've got to avoid them, and for your own sanity. That's why I say if you go back to the office tomorrow, you should sack the bottom 25% of your customers, because they really are causing you a lot of problems. And if you were taking insurance as a classification, who uses Go Compare? Anybody use Go Compare? Compare the market, Meerkats, whatever else you've got going on. So if you're not in the top 5 or 6 that come up on the Go Compare site, you're not going to be chosen for an insurance product. They're not going to choose you. So you have to offer the best deal. And there was a research done that showed for Tesco's, when Tesco's were big in insurance, that 90% of Tesco's customers would leave them if they could find the insurance cheaper elsewhere. 90%. Customer loyalty, a big, fat 0. They advertised a cheap price, they got a cheap price, but as soon as they found a cheaper price, they'd gone. Because what they were interested in is not Tesco, they were interested in a cheap price. And that's what happens in this end of the market. RAC, offering insurance in the same research, were shown to be able to retain 75% of their insurance company, their clients, even if they found it cheaper elsewhere. And as long as they tried to meet the price difference, people would stay with them. They didn't have to, as long as they tried, people would stay with them. Customer loyalty, brand strength. But they were picking their customers in that treasure sector. They were doing more alignment of their customers to the company values. So sack the bottom 25% of your customers. So how do you build these sorts of models? Well, these models are built by aggregating your customer data with the resources that are out there. Call, credit, Experian data, enhancing them with key indicators of social demographic, SIC business size factors that will allow you to create segments or clusters that will work. On changing the subject totally back to the differentials occurring, on ONS today, they've launched a influence map of the UK based on income. And it'll make no surprise that London is at least 1/3 of the size of the UK based on its income. And Scotland is just a teeny weeny bit at the top, okay? Because it's the whole way the incomes are being distributed. London's pays more, it has more income, has more wealth, and therefore it's a much more bigger influence. And the same will apply to your customers, and you need to understand which ones will give you money in the future, because the future is not bright and orange. It's going to be really quite bad for some businesses that try and operate in the middle ground. You either have to be exceptionally great or you have to be really cheap. There is no middle ground for a few years. And just to help support that, I did some quick research on ONS and other places that showed that the top 0.1% average income of the richest was just over the £1 million. The top 10% on average earn £79,000. So if average income is 25 grand, 60% of the population do not earn £25,000. And it's going to get smaller. So what's happening is the rich will get richer, and that's not, I'm not being political here, the poor will get poorer. It's what's going to happen until the economy changes into a digital, enhanced world. We're currently going through that change process that happened back in the Industrial Revolution, and it's influencing the middle classes. Historically, it was working classes that didn't get jobs, that were thrown out of work because of the Industrial Revolution. With the technology revolution, it's going to be the middle classes that get thrown out of work, and we'll have to realign. And that will take at least 10 years, maybe 20 years. So businesses that don't operate in a significantly cost-efficient manner either be brilliant at servicing and developing new things, or they won't exist. Okay? And that's not sort of me saying that. Tyler Cohen wrote it up in that book, Average is Over. So a money map, as we would call it, would enable you to determine where you spend your marketing dollar, in which media, who you target, because if I treasure somebody, if I spend time, if you were back to the dating game when we were younger, if you spent time with people and communicated with people, you created stronger relationships. If you only spent a few minutes or with somebody, the relationship would be very weak and very poor. So this is the same that happens here. These people also stay with you for up to 7 years. They're longer-term relationships. They have a much higher lifetime value. They have a greater future potential. So you need to spend your marketing identifying who those people are and making sure you do look after them. And if you cluster them together in the right groups, you can achieve that. If you don't, then you'll end up with a bunch of customers that can drain your business. And you have to be more and more efficient each day, which is why, you know, we look to do things cheaper. And I'm afraid, you know, getting things cheaper all the time isn't always possible. You have to have a certain amount of money left to buy, you know, pay your electricity bill, buy your food, and live. Okay? That's fundamentally what I've got to say. It's very short, 25 minutes. Does anybody have any questions?
Yeah, hi. Just a quick question about recognizing those. You mentioned that cluster at the top right corner. So recognizing that type of customer and recognizing who they are. So how would you identify that avatar? How would you identify those customers as an avatar? Like, for example, so-and-so age, so-and-so business size, so-and-so, et cetera, et cetera.
Just 1 second. The avatar for those depends on the business you're in. So if you were in a business-to-business organization, if you were selling electricity to business customers, you would maybe do it on business type and size at the location. If you were doing it for consumers, it could be the age, family type, and where they live in terms of household styles. So you'd use the traditional demographic to create the cluster. Okay? That would then give you the average income you were experiencing from that cluster. And it might be, what we see is people in the treasures are worth 4 to 5 times as much as people in the avoid classification. But they only cost about half as much to serve, and they cost a quarter as much to acquire. So they're cheaper to serve. So £1,000 of revenue in the treasure sector could generate £900 of profitability. £1,000 of revenue in the avoid classification generates £100 of profitability. So which customers do I want? It's not a perfect market. I can't serve them all. So I've got to choose where I place my effort. I need 200 people in a call center down here to look after the calls of the people that are complaining. I need 20 people in a call center up here. So the traditional way of creating clusters of people for consumers and businesses is based on their size, their income, and their business type or socioeconomic group. The revenue and what they do is what you assign to that group. And that comes from everybody that ever trades with you. So if 50 people in the group bought product A and 25 bought product B, that's the view that you start to build for each of those clusters. Okay? And you can call them whatever you like. It's just a means of creating that segmentation model, and it's specific to each business. It's very different for each business. But you can see what emails and what social media they're responding to, whether they're Facebook friends with you, whether they are responding to your emails, whether they only open the offer emails, whether they open new product development emails. Those are things you can spot by creating those clusters. Okay? It's simply a means, like a Boston matrix, it's simply a means of creating a language for you in the organization to start changing how you do your marketing. Okay, so when you talk to people about your marketing, you talk to, well, I've got a treasure strategy. In this area here, where you can acquire them, but they don't spend a lot with you, they're more sales promotion. These people do need the £49.50 offers. These people don't. If you're a multi-millionaire and I send you a 10% off a Mont Blanc pen, does that really influence you to buy it? No, not really. But it might influence this person to buy it. And these people down here, the development, I generate a lot of revenue, but you're difficult to acquire. That could be there's something there, but we don't know. You need to, this is the way you spend your market research to investigate those people to work out why. You have another question? Yeah. Of course, exactly. But what you're doing is you've got different promotions going to different groups. But what happens at the moment, because we're averaging everything, the same promotion goes out to the majority of the customers, and they tend to be clustered around the avoids. That's the issue. The issue is that we're not discriminatory enough against people we should treasure. So Tesco's, a great business. It's fantastic. There's no complaints about Tesco's, but their marketing is averaged. So it doesn't address the people that want good service and the Waitrose product, and it doesn't address the Aldi people. It's in the middle. And that's not good when the market is spreading into I want it cheap or I want great service. That's what's happening. But it doesn't stop Tesco's offering a great service. But then it's discriminating against the rest of its customer base, and people go, well, that's not fair. HSBC tried to launch the £50,000 account. You had to earn 50 grand and they would see you in the branch. And people kicked off because they thought that was discriminatory. HSBC were trying to create I want to look after these people, they're going to be better for my business. But their marketing cocked it up, effectively.
Ironically, though, Tesco is the master of segmentation. That's a very interesting point. So where do you think that Tesco have gone wrong?
I don't think they're a master of segmentation. No, I don't think. That's just a point. That's just Sainsbury's were right. It's just a means of giving them, what were those stamps called? Green Shield stamps. Yeah, I think he was right. They collected all the data and they got shed loads of the data and they do lots with it for suppliers. But actually for their own communications, having been a Tesco customer for years, never, ever, ever did I feel like I was one of their better customers. Maybe I wasn't. But with 4 children and 2 cars and filling up and trying to earn all the points we could, I'd have thought we'd at least made the upper echelons of their customer base. But I never felt it. So I don't think they were good at the master of segmentation. I don't think they were. They should have been.
I mean, again, sorry for my English. I'm Polish and I don't speak English as a native language. I don't necessarily agree with some things which you are saying related to classifying customers purely on the basis of customer service and or price. I can give you a very good example, which is Walmart. They are owner of Asda, and their competitive advantage was based on the range of products that they actually provide, and they were constantly be able to promote that and explain that to their customers.
I agree with you. I'm exaggerating to make a point. You know, of course. There's always people that will do things better, but the 80% of us are not doing it better. 20%, of course, can. And there's lots of things that, you know, in this simple 20, 30-minute presentation, I'm exaggerating lots of things. You know, you have to. Otherwise, it's not entertaining. It's just dull. And I can have a PowerPoint and click. Next. It's trying to get people engaged, because if you talk to people about it, you talk to catalogers about it, you talk to call center managers about it, they're seeing it happen, but they don't know what to do. That's the problem at the moment. People don't know what to do. Tesco's caught because it doesn't know what to do. Because to throw out what it's done historically becomes a massive burden to the organization. Goldman Sachs, in the Times this week, said Tesco's and Sainsbury's could have to close 25% of their store base. They've got the best part of 4,000 stores in this country. That's 1,000 of their stores gone. It's a massive, massive issue. And it's not just about digital, but digital is like the new horizon. Everybody powers on, and you're collecting lots of customers, and it's relatively easy to do so, but are they good customers? Not always. That's the question. We are not equal. You know, we're all different. We grow taller, we grow shorter, we grow fatter, we grow thinner. You know, we're all different, no matter what we think.
But I agree with you that eventually there will be a big difference between getting, for example, the goods for either rich people or poor. I mean, the market now is also for going things which are very high level, because like you said, people who have the money, they don't bother with discounts or anything like that.
I mean, if you've got a shed load of money, the last thing you're worried about is how much things cost. You know, if you get a 10% discount, unless it's on some, you know, £2 billion yacht, you're not interested. It doesn't matter. In fact, you want to pay more for it. And if you're Chinese, you do pay more for it. If it's not expensive, I don't want it. So why would I discount it? Anyway, that's me finished. Thank you very much for listening. Enjoy. Go home.